Hello world, it is Wednesday, November 10th, 2021, and it's kind of a foggy morning this morning in Defiance, but still kind of warm. It was 41 degrees when I went out running this morning, which is not too bad, but it is pretty dense fog out there, so if you're going out anywhere, be careful driving this morning. The devotion for today is entitled Praying All the Time, written by Ann Cansfield. And Ann bases the devotion upon Ephesians chapter 6, verse 18, New Revised Standard Version. Pray in the Spirit at all times, in every prayer and supplication. To that end, keep alert and always persevere in supplication for all the saints. And Ann writes, my friend and fellow UCC pastor, Reverend Micah Busey, writes tiny prayers. He shares them on Twitter. They're short and random, and every time I read them I think, wow, I could never write such a great prayer. I'm intimidated by prayer. I want it to be neat and tidy with words that make sense. But most of the time, I don't have words. I have a mix of feelings, or other times there's nothing there. If we are to pray at all times, we have to allow ourselves some run-on sentences and messy thoughts. Our whole lives are lived as a big, giant, messy prayer. Sometimes within that, we need to pray the words that others write. Thank God for tiny prayers written by friends. Sometimes we have to sit with ourselves and God in silence. And sometimes we have to live out the prayer in our actions. The desire to pray is itself a prayer. And sometimes we live out the prayer in our actions. And that's enough. And the prayer. Let the tiny prayers, the big messy prayers, the silent yearning prayers, and the inaction prayers be enough, God, for you and for me. Amen. Well, as I was reading this devotion, I thought of brought to mind quite a number of different things. And one is, I think it's important to know that there probably isn't really a wrong way to pray. So we should never be afraid to pray in whatever way reaches our heart or whatever way we feel compelled to do. Another thought I had was everyone kind of struggles with praying sometimes. I don't know how many meetings I've been in with other pastors and the question is asked, well, who would like to pray? And everybody's head goes down. Even in seminary it was like that. So you're not alone, but we don't need to really be afraid. And the other thought that came to me as I was reading this devotion was that my own personal belief is that prayer doesn't necessarily change God, doesn't change God's mind. It's more about changing us, changing our attitude, changing our focus, helping us to find what we need to find. Because I think if prayers did change God's mind, why are some prayers seemingly answered and others not? Is God capricious? Are some people's prayers not good enough? That doesn't seem right to me. But I really do think prayer is about contemplation and changing ourselves, changing our focus, refocusing our attentions in the world and in our lives and on God. So I hope you have a good day. And I hope to talk to you again tomorrow.